Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Tom K. Wilson, provides you with insight and guidance from his years of experience as a successful real estate entrepreneur on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate, and much, much more. Now, here's your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
Thanks for tuning in to our Real Estate Radio Live program, your number one source for all of your real estate needs and education. We're broadcasting from the number one business radio station in the San Francisco Bay Area, KDOW AM 1220, the Wall Street Business Network. I'm Tom K. Wilson, your host for the 2 p.m. Wednesday edition of Real Estate Radio Live that comes to you daily, Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. and on Wednesdays at 2 p.m., along with my co-hosts Joe Kuchera, Mike D'Ambrosio, and Bobby Decker. If you can't make the live show, you can catch our podcast on reradiolive.com and my programs on TomWilsonProperties.com or on iTunes or on YouTube. You can go to TomWilsonProperties.com and sign up for a newsletter on real estate that comes out weekly. You can also go to the website to get a lot of investor education information, find out about investing in single-family homes for retirement passive income, also investing into commercial retail centers and syndications that you can get ownership in for as little as $50,000 for a share. And we always welcome your questions, recommendations for topics and guests coming up, and we offer free consultation for real estate as well. We're very fortunate to have back with us today Garrett Sutton, who's a 30-year experienced attorney who specializes in asset protection and is specializes as well into asset protection for real estate investors. He's a best-selling author of 6 books. He's one of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisors, and he does a wonderful job of teaching and giving education to those about the topic and making a complex subject very understandable. He's traveled around the world with Robert Kiyosaki, teaching thousands of folks about how they can protect themselves and make it easy to understand what the ways to do it are and what the ways not to do it are. And it's great to have you back with us, Garrett.
Well, thank you, Tom. It's great to be back on your show.
We had a wonderful program before that walked through the details of the different kinds of ways to protect yourself and what works and doesn't work, and explaining the whole process. If you missed that, you can go to TomWilsonProperties.com and look for that podcast. And today we're going to focus on one of Garrett's books called Loopholes of Real Estate. And I think you'll find some very interesting information there. And at the end of the program, we'll tell you how you can get a free autographed copy by Garrett. So, Garrett, where did this book, in your sequence of 6 books that you had, that you've written, where did this one fit in, and why did you write this particular one?
Well, Tom, this is the 3rd book I wrote in the Rich Dad Advisor series, and I wrote the book because there's a lot of misinformation about real estate. As well, there are a lot of real estate investors who don't get this information that we put into the book, the tax advantages and the legal strategies for owning real estate. And the reason we call it Loopholes of Real Estate is with loopholes, we go back to the history of loopholes, and a loophole was a little slit in a castle wall where an archer could fire an arrow out on the marauding crowds below. And then a loophole got moved to the bottom of the castle, and if you knew where the loophole was, you could escape during a siege. And from there it came to mean an out, a way to get out of a contract or out of a situation. So with Loopholes of Real Estate, we talk about how to open the loopholes for tax advantages and how to close the legal loopholes of liability. And so that's kind of the theme of the book. And I wrote the book, again, because this information isn't taught anywhere. And so it was a way to bring all this great information together for people to, instead of spending 10 years of learning the hard way, read the book, understand our legal system, how the tax system rewards real estate investing, and move forward from there.
One of the many things I've liked about you, Garrett, is that you aren't just narrowly focused on, say, how to set up an LLC, but you do a wonderful job of looking at the whole spectrum and helping especially real estate investors look at the tax side of things as well as the liability side of things.
Yeah, thank you. And this book originally was published in 2005, and it was a bestseller. Business Week had it as the 8th best-selling book of 2005. And then with the crash, we had to provide a lot more information. So the book was totally redone and updated in 2014. So we have a lot of new information in the book. Many of your listeners may have read the book back in the early 2000s, but this is a completely updated version.
Good. So make sure you get hold of the current version, and at the end of the program, we'll tell you how you can get one of those for free.
Yeah, Tom, we've also done a study. If I autograph the book, the value goes up by 10 cents. So I'm really happy to provide these autographed copies.
Robert Kiyosaki may be a buck, huh?
Yeah, he's a buck. I'm only a dime.
That's a lot more. I have a couple of your books autographed by you, and I prize them. So I have a lot of respect for the guy who wrote them.
Thanks.
Yeah, we spent. I met Garrett many years ago at a educational event, and then I had the pleasure, I think 4 years ago, of going on the Real Estate Guys Summit at Sea, where they have like 15 different folks with the level of experience of Garrett, including Robert Kiyosaki that year, and it was a wonderful education, and got to know Garrett a lot better, and to appreciate his advice and perspectives on, especially as it relates to real estate.
Yeah, that was a fun event, and you just have to get education the best way you can. For some people, it's reading. For some people, it's going to an event. Whatever it takes, whatever works for you, we should encourage that.
I absolutely agree. I often advise folks to. I think many people don't think about it. They just get thrown lots of different things. And if you want to learn about a topic, think back about what ways in the past, when you've learned about something, what worked best for you. Interviewing folks, reading books, going to classes. Of course, there's no substitute for having some skin in the game, and then you supplement that with these other approaches. Right.
Well, for example, my books have all been recorded into audiobooks, and I have a lot of people tell me that, when they're driving to work or driving on a long trip, they really take in the information well with an audiobook. That was something I wasn't aware of until just recently.
I didn't know they were available that way. I'm glad you told me, because I think I have one of your books. I've probably read a part of several chapters, but haven't made it all the way through. So that'd be a good way on my next trip down to Santa Barbara to see my daughter.
There you go.
Let's get into the book a little bit and tell us some things in there that the listeners might like to hear.
Well, one of the topics I cover has to do with land trusts. And, Tom, there's a great deal of misinformation on the Internet about land trusts.
Well, I've heard a lot of folks say that that's what you should do, is put every property in a land trust.
Well, we have to be careful there. A lot of the promoters will tell you that the land trust offers asset protection. That is absolutely false. If you hold title to a property in a land trust and a tenant sues over the property, the beneficiary, you, the owner of the land trust, is personally responsible for everything on that property. So you've set up the land trust, you think you're protected, but in fact you're not. And so it's very important for your listeners to understand that, yes, the land trust is easy. There's no annual filing fee, but it does not provide you with any asset protection. If a tenant sues over the property, they have a claim against you, the beneficiary, personally, and they can get all of your personal assets. So you haven't really accomplished anything by using the land trust.
Can you explain to us what is it? What is a land trust?
A land trust is a trust document, and with a trust you have a trustee, a person other than the beneficiary, who administers the property, and then they administer the property for the benefit of the beneficiary, who is akin to a shareholder in a corporation. So the trust is set up for the benefit of the beneficiary. And these promoters will say, have a attorney be the trustee of the land trust, and if you ever get called into court, if you ever get sued on the land trust, the attorney can say, Your Honor, I am the attorney and trustee for this land trust, and I don't have to tell you who the beneficiary is. And Tom, I don't go to jail for my clients. If you were to walk into court and tell a judge that he does not have the right to know who the owner of a property is in his jurisdiction, they'll send you to jail, to spend a few nights in jail for contempt of court. Of course, the court has the right to know who owns property in their jurisdiction. So this is another misinformation piece that these promoters provide. That no one will ever know who owns the property. The court certainly can find out who owns the property. So
since they're so cheap to set up, or why are they recommending them?
Because they like to sell a bundle of forms to people. That's their back end for the land trust. They will sell you forms that provide all this super secret stuff that really doesn't exist.
Okay, we just got about 30 seconds here on this segment. Anything else to say about that before we get into quick claim deeds?
The land trust also does not, you can't sell your interest in the land trust and avoid paying taxes. That's also out there on the internet, that when you transfer your interest in a land trust, it's not a sale and you don't have to pay tax on it. That'll get you in a big amount of trouble with the IRS. That's not an accurate representation either.
Wow, that's amazing, because almost every real estate investor has heard about land trust, and always, I think a lot of them think, "Gosh, I probably is an idiot for not going ahead and doing that," and they don't know the whole picture. We have with us today Garrett Sutton, an experienced attorney with asset protection of real estate, best-selling author, and one of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisors here on RE Radio Live. And we're going to be right back here on KDOW, 1220 AM. You're the Wall Street Business Network. Stay with us.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
Thanks for being with us today. We have Garrett Sutton, an experienced attorney on asset protection of real estate, best-selling author, and one of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisors. So, Garrett, we were talking about land trust before the break, and how that's often misperceived as providing protection and value. Bottom line is, you don't recommend them, correct?
I don't. If you set up a land trust and you're the beneficiary personally, you can be held personally responsible. So what some promoters will say, Tom, is, all right, we'll have the beneficiary be an LLC, which gives you a little more protection, but then they go the extra step of saying, have that LLC own 3 land trusts or more. And if you get sued by the tenant, the claim is against the LLC. If the LLC owns 3 land trusts, all 3 land trusts are exposed to that claim. So you haven't done anything to protect yourself. by having one LLC. Typically, you would need 3 separate LLCs to protect yourself, and if you need 3 separate LLCs, why even have the land trust? You're much better off with the separate LLCs.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about quick claim deeds. That's often people feel that's a quick and dirty way to make it real easy to just go shift ownership. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, Tom, again, in the book Loopholes of Real Estate, I tried to identify various areas where people are getting a lot of misinformation. And along with the land trust, the quitclaim deed is an area of great misinformation. You have several types of deeds. The grant or warranty deed is the deed I recommend, and that's where the seller is saying to the buyer, I affirm that I own this property. If I don't own this property, you can sue me for not delivering the property I said I would. The grant deed or the warranty deed warrants that you actually own the property. The quitclaim deed is a lesser deed. The quitclaim deed, in essence, says, I don't know what I own, but I'm granting whatever I may own to you. And you don't have the right of recourse in that situation, meaning you can't sue the person if they gave you the wrong property. So the grant deed or the warranty deed is a much stronger deed, and you always want it. The other thing that the quitclaim deed does is it severs the title insurance. So let's say that you have bought a property, a fourplex, and you have title insurance, and then you're going to transfer it into an LLC for the asset protection. So you want title to be in the name of your LLC instead of your individual name. Well, people will say, well, just do a quitclaim deed. And so when you quitclaim from your name to the LLC, you've severed the title insurance. So say you have a boundary dispute on the property a year later. By using the quitclaim deed, you don't have any title insurance to protect you there, whereas the grant deed allows for the title insurance to continue. So you always want to use the grant deed or warranty deed, and it doesn't cost any more to use a grant deed or warranty deed. The wording on the two deeds is the difference is a couple words. It's not a longer or more complicated deed. So
what's the disadvantage? Is there any disadvantage in losing the grant or warranty deed?
No, the grant or warranty deed is what you want to use. The disadvantage is by using the quitclaim deed, which people mispronounce as quick claim deed, like it's somehow quick or easy. It's not a quick claim deed, it's a quit claim deed. It says, I quit owning whatever I may own, but I don't know what I own. Now, what's happening with these banks in foreclosure is they're saying, well, just accept the quitclaim deed. This gives you perfect, full rights. But the bank is really, they don't know what happened to the title. Everything with the MERS system was all bollocksed up, and they don't know what they own. And they're misrepresenting to people that a quitclaim deed provides you with a full conveyance of all rights, and it doesn't. So I had a client buying a property in Carmel, California, from a very large bank, and the bank insisted that she accept a quitclaim deed. And I said, you've got to walk away from the property. The bank isn't willing to warrant that they have clear title to this property. And
wow, that's amazing. Garrett, I'm sorry, we're going to have to take a break here, and let's continue that as soon as we get back. We got Garrett Sutton, an asset protection attorney, best-selling author, and one of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisors. This is Tom K. Wilson on Real Estate Radio Live on KDOW 1220 AM, the Wall Street Business Network. Stay with us. We'll be right back and tell you how to get a free book.
For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
Garrett Sutton is with us today on asset protection of your real estate, best-selling author and one of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisors. And we're focusing today on one of his books that's written about loopholes of real estate. And we're talking about a lot of misconceptions out there and what you should know about them. Basically, we've talked about land trust. Don't use them. They don't give the advantages that are often advertised. Quitclaim deed should never be used in lieu of a grant or warranty deed. And Garrett, what's the difference in a grant and warranty deed?
Well, the grant and warranty deed, there are subtle differences state to state, but essentially it is the strongest deed you can give. It says that the person conveying the property owns the property, that if they come into possession of other property, they will convey it further to the buyer, and they are warranting that they own the property, and if they don't convey full title, that you have a claim back against them. The buyer has a claim against the seller. So that's the strongest deed out there, and that's the one you want to use, as opposed to the quitclaim deed, which we mentioned, is just an affirmation that you may own some rights to this property, and you're conveying whatever rights you may own, but you're not warranting that you do own those rights.
Let's talk about a section in your book about hazardous waste claim that you used as an example, and describe the Phase 1 survey.
Well, this is another area in the book that I wanted to write about because many people starting out investing in real estate don't realize how responsible you can be if there are hazardous materials on your property. So even if you use an LLC to hold title to the real estate and there's a later discovery of hazardous materials on your property, you can be personally responsible for that cleanup. And I've had clients, I've just heard the horror stories of people who innocently bought a piece of property. And a classic example, Tom, is where you buy a corner lot that used to have a gas station on it. And the tanks are underground, and they've decayed, and they're leaking into the soil, and you have to be, once you take title to that property, once you're on the chain of title, you're responsible for that cleanup. So we have to be mindful when we buy property that we're not going to be exposed to these later claims for cleanup. The way to do that is to hire an engineer, and every city will have professional engineers that do what is called a Phase 1 environmental survey. And, typically it's $1,000 or $1,500 for the engineer to come out, inspect the property, do a research of the property uses in the past, and prepare a report saying that he's come out, he's done the survey, he finds that the property is clear. Now, if he comes back and says, well, I'm not too sure about this, to really understand this property, we need to do the Phase 2 environmental survey, most people will walk from the transaction. If they get a report
Garrett,
back...
wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So if you're buying a piece of commercial property, it's probably something you really got to be careful about. But if you're buying a typical residential property in a tract, it's probably something that rarely comes up.
True.
However,
if you're buying an older home that may have had a heating oil tank, you may want to have that done.
All right, good point, especially if you're buying a farm or rural or something like that.
Right.
Okay. So we've got Garrett with us, Garrett Sutton, who's an experienced asset protection attorney, best-selling author, and one of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisors. Be back with us just a moment. Stay around. I'll tell you how to get a free autographed book. Tom K. Wilson, KDOW, 1220 AM.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com That's RERadioLive.com. Again, your host for today's edition Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
Great to have back with us today Garrett Sutton, an experienced asset protection attorney, best-selling author, one of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad advisors, and we're talking about some of his key points that in his Loopholes of Real Estate book, and we've talked about land trust and quick claim deeds, not to use either of those, that if you buy a piece of property that you suspect could have had some hazardous material on it, like maybe an older rural property or farmland or commercial property, that even an LLC is not protecting you against any hazardous waste claim in the future. Garrett, let's talk about your house. So you've got a bunch of real estate, you got LLCs protecting those. You hope. But if you don't, and you've got a lawsuit that can come down to you personally, and often people's largest personal asset is their home. So how do we protect the home from these lawsuits?
That's a good question, Tom, because you're right. One of the main assets you want to protect is your house. Spouses really don't like it when you lose the house, so we definitely want to protect that. And the first way we look at protecting your personal residence is with what's called the homestead exemption. And this is a filing that you make with the county that will protect a certain amount of equity in your personal residence. And it varies from state to state. So, for example, in Texas and Florida, with a homestead, your house is protected no matter how much equity is in it. It's completely protected. And the reason OJ went to Florida is because Florida law protects people even against criminal claims. Texas, your homestead does not protect you against a criminal claim. But Texas and Florida are two really great states for asset protection because your house is protected. The other states go with various dollar limits. So, for example, Nevada has a $550,000 homestead exemption, and here's how it works. If you have $1 million home and a $450,000 first deed of trust, you've got $550,000 in equity exposed. If you got in a lawsuit, someone could go after that equity. They can't get the $450,000 because the bank has first dibs on that, but they could go after that $550,000 of equity that you have exposed. By doing a simple filing with the county, by filing the homestead exemption with your county, and it's a $20 filing fee, you protect that $550,000 in the state of Nevada. So someone suing you later would not be able to get the equity in your home. Now, in
just
California,
that simple, huh?
It's just that simple. In California, the amount is $100,000. So, if you have
that's really a great match in California, isn't it?
I know.
It doesn't do us a lot of good. But $100K is $100K, right?
Right, exactly. So, say you've got $200,000 exposed, I would always put the homestead on there because someone's suing you when they force a sale of the house and it's sold at a discount with commissions and everything. I don't think they would go after $100,000 in equity. I think they wouldn't get that much out of it. Now, if the house is worth $2 million, the $100,000 doesn't really protect you. So then we look at an LLC to protect your home. But first we have to analyze whether the homestead will protect you, and it varies from state to state, and we have a list of it at corporatedirect.com. You can see what the homestead value is in your state. Some states don't even have it. Pennsylvania, I believe New Jersey don't even have homesteads. So it varies.
What I'm hearing too is that what people need to know is it's not automatic. They don't know that it's your primary residence. You got to do something, right?
Correct. You have to take an affirmative step. In some states it is automatic, but very few. So I would talk to your real estate broker and just say, hey, how do I get a homestead on my home? And you can go to Staples or Office Depot. They have the forms. You buy the form, you put down the legal description for your property and make sure it's letter perfect, Block H, Lot 7, and then you file it with the county and you're good.
Okay, let's talk about the LLC.
Well, you could
protection?
use the LLC to protect the equity in your home. You would have to go through some gyrations. So the LLC is on title to your personal residence, and then you would have an LLC bank account, and mom and dad would then pay rent to the LLC. The LLC, in turn, would pay the mortgage and all the other expenses. There's a case in California that says you can't use this structure in a bankruptcy. We can't use an LLC to protect yourself in a bankruptcy, but as against all other creditors, I think it's another way to protect the equity in your home. I should also mention, Tom, that you only get one homestead per couple. So you can't have two homesteads in two different states.
Yeah, and your vacation property and so forth. We got just about a minute left in this segment. Talk about equity stripping.
Equity stripping is where we have a separate entity that provides a HELOC to the family and receives a deed of trust, thus encumbering the property. A regular HELOC with a bank can do that. That is a form of asset protection. If you don't want the bank HELOC, we can set up a separate LLC to provide a line of credit and receive a deed of trust encumbering the property in return. And that's written up in the book Loopholes of Real Estate.
And when you're taking that approach, I presume what you could do is a higher LTV. You could probably set up a HELOC that would basically cover all the remaining equity in the house. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Whereas you're not going to get that from a bank.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So the idea is that what they would see on record would be that there's no that the total mortgage is in place. It makes the HELOC look like it's a full loan for that amount, even if you haven't really taken any out, correct?
Right, and so it appears to be fully encumbered. When you go into court, you have to tell the truth as to how much actually was borrowed against it. But for outward appearances, the property appears to be fully encumbered.
Yep, and you could write a check or do the transaction at the last minute if you need to protect it. Great, so we got Garrett Sutton with us today. Stay tuned, and we'll tell you how you can get a free autographed book from him. We'll be right back in just a few moments and do some wrap-up and some last few things about asset protection with Garrett Sutton. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Tom K. Wilson.
It's great having Garrett Sutton back with us today, talking about asset protection and as it regards to real estate. And let's, in our last minute or two here, Garrett, why don't you talk a little bit about LLCs? I often get the question, well, how many properties shall we have?
There's a lot, too. And the issue is, if you get sued by a tenant, they have a claim to the equity inside that LLC. They rented from the LLC. They sue the LLC. If that LLC has 10 free and clear properties in it, they could get all 10 properties. So the question becomes, how many properties do we put into an LLC? We don't want to create a target-rich LLC. And that's a judgment call according to my clients, but I don't recommend more than 3 or 4 properties per LLC, and we kind of have to mix and match it. You wouldn't put a $1 million free and clear home in the same LLC that you owned a duplex that you rented to the Hells Angels. That's just not a good match. So it's
I got a visual. Okay.
Yeah, right. It's something we just have to work with. We get on the phone with people and plan out how to best structure your LLCs.
So the way I kind of take this is, all right, if someone says, gosh, I'd really like to protect my some of these assets, but my gosh, if I'm making $3,000 a year and I got to pay $800, that's kind of a big bite. But maybe a compromise might be putting 3 of your rental properties in it. Then maybe an equivalent of $200 a piece is not too expensive for insurance per year.
Right. And so if you live outside of California, most states don't have that $800 per year. It's much easier outside California. We have to do a little bit more planning for California. But you're right, Tom. You could certainly have 3 or 4 properties in one LLC.
So that might be a good compromise for those that in the past have said, well, I'm just not going to do it. It's too expensive. So this, at least it would give you protection against especially a charging order, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So Garrett has offered to give away a couple free autographed books of the ones we've been discussing today, Loopholes of Real Estate. Just go to TomWilsonProperties.com. Tell us you'd like a book, and the first 2 in, we'll get it to you. So that would be great. Garrett, thanks for being with us today. You're a wonderful educator as well as an experienced attorney in asset protection. It's nice having you with us.
Well, thank you, Tom. It's a pleasure being on your show again.
Thank you. And so remember to go to TomWilsonProperties.com, and you can sign up for a newsletter on real estate. It comes out weekly. Lots of news articles on what's going on in economics and other information. Go to TomWilsonProperties.com for a lot of investor education information. You can see some examples of single-family home products that we offer. We have commercial syndications that are available that you can get for as little as $50,000 a share for nice quality commercial products that now are running better returns than, say, multifam. You can ask for a report on how to select the best metro and product. Titled by the real estate guys is From High Tech to the Heart of Texas. And we always welcome your questions and give you some free consultation. Nice having you with us. And we look forward to having you back next week on Real Estate Radio Live. Remember, the only thing that matters is what you do next. Come back with us next week.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Tune in, log in, download our podcast, discover more at RERadiolive.com. RERadiolive.com.